For me and my family, peace is always an option. But today, choose violence. Now in a can.
Do you have any information on what they stole?
I don't know. But as long as they don't touch the peanut butter, because I did stuff to it.
Look at you being all awake and stuff. You're reading words, and you probably aren't even stabbing anybody right now. You deserve a coffee, you little ray of sunshine.
I just said if I stop juicing, topping this out my lifestyle. I just said if I do that, I don't even know if you go without the beginning.
I'm Judy. I have cafe. Come for breakfast.
Hey folks, Mike Barron here. Every time we do a crowdfunder, we place it on Fund My Comic. Because Luke Stone is a great guy, he's a stand-up guy, and most importantly, Fund My Comic is very comic creator friendly. They won't kick you off if some purple-haired freak writes in and tells them to kick you off. His fees are also very low. I recommend Fund My Comic for any comic or graphic novel projects you intend to do.
In the middle of the night or early Friday morning, depending upon where you are in the world, a group of experienced comics professionals get together to examine and instruct about the art form that they love. That's great comic artwork on Comics by Night, Fridays at 5 a.m. Eastern, here on the Indie Comics Network, indiecomicsnetwork.com.
What was that? This is not a charade.
What a crowd. What is it? Let's do weird stuff like that. Isn't
What
that
a
weird?
crowd.
What a crowd. What a crowd. Man, it's Thursday. You know, I wasn't here last week.
No, we were all gone.
No, I had a cold.
Just cold?
Flu or something. I don't know what it was.
Flu?
It was pretty bad. It was rough. It was rough.
Really rough.
What's behind that sheet there, dude?
That's a mess. That's what's behind that sheet.
Is that where you keep the dead bodies?
I ain't saying. I can honestly tell you, though, not a single shackle or whip in sight.
Oh. Well, you went a little freakier than I was expecting.
No. Not even like that.
I'm not expecting that. Yeah, man, it's a good day. It's a good day.
Every day above ground, my friend. Every day above ground is a good day.
Yes. So Tuesday was my birthday.
Oh, well, happy birthday. That's cool.
Thank you. It was my 5th bonus birthday.
Yes.
Yeah. So we count bonus birthdays now.
Mm-hmm.
And so I actually told someone on Tuesday, I said, "You're only as old as you feel." And he goes, "Well, how old do you feel?" I go, "I feel 5."
There you go.
And he was like, "What?"
Been about that long?
Yeah. Can you believe it?
Yeah, I can.
Some days it feels like forever, and some days it feels like just yesterday.
Strange how time flies. But you went down a lot earlier than I did. I went down until October. Yeah.
You know, I tend to jump on the trends quicker than other people do.
I guess.
Yeah, I do. Yeah. Johnny come lately here decided to join me a couple weeks later. I don't know, man. It's pretty good that I wasn't able to go down or go over to New York that weekend. Because if I'd have made that trip, there might have been a good chance I'd have suplexed somebody. I'd have been in jail most likely.
Yeah.
I would not have responded as favorably as the rest of you did to that little fiasco.
There was a lot of temper holding.
Yeah, I don't know that. I probably would have.
And I had to drive back from New York with him.
Oh, there you go.
I paid for the van. They paid for the Fleabag Hotel. Anyway.
We paid for a lot.
Paid for too much.
Covered a lot.
Still paying. I got a garage.
Still paying.
I got boxes in the garage.
Oh, so many boxes of comic books. I literally can't give these things away right now.
That's where I'm at. I am doing a seminar at the Muskegon Institute of Art, which is 2 hours away from me, with Scott Rosema and a few other people. Corinne Roberts is going to be there apparently, and 1 or 2 other creators. And we're going to talk about making comics in Michigan. It'll be interesting.
Well, that ought to be fun.
Yeah, kind of looking forward to it.
This is Retail Store Week.
There we are. Where's my bell? Right there.
So we're going to talk about some retail stores and, you know, some of our experience back in the day and, just reminisce a little bit about the good times and how it impacted our love for this thing called comics.
I told you, I met my wife while I was working at a comic shop.
Yeah. Tell us that story. I'm sure
I met my wife while I was working at a comic shop.
That's a great story.
It's a great story.
Thanks for sharing that.
No, anyway, it's a... I had just gotten out of a really... I had gotten out of bad marriage about 3 years before that. Got out of a bad... well, it wasn't that bad, actually. Engagement. Another bad relationship and swearing off women, and she kept coming into the shop. So
swearing off women.
Yep. I had a daughter. She had a son. She said maybe we should take them bowling, and then she said maybe we should go out before we take them out to see how we're compatible. And we went to see Beetlejuice at the theater, and that was it. I was moved in within a week.
Wow.
So
she says, how about we try living together? How about we try getting married? How about we try
married 35 years ago, got married, dragged her to the courthouse, made it legal.
Man, that's awesome, dude.
She's put up with me ever since.
And she knew the whole time you're an old ink slinger.
Yeah, oh yeah. She loves reading, so
old paper jockey.
Yep. When we were all down for the meltdown, she was reading a book a day, paperback book a day,
Wow.
going right through them.
Yeah. I'll tell you, there's nothing like the smell of newsprint.
Yeah, I love those old
Mm.
paperbacks. They're just great.
Man, I grab a newsprint book and I'll smell that, and it just immediately transports me back to another time.
Yeah.
Nothing
She's
quite like it.
she's a big reader. She says I retain a lot more than she does when I read, but she reads real fast. So
she reads a lot. You don't read as
Oh.
much, but you remember more than she does.
yeah, she can zoom through a 300-page book in a day, real easy.
That's okay because they can't remember all the books they read
Yeah,
because they've got to remember all of the crap that you've done over the years.
that's what it is. All the crap. Yeah,
And they got to remember all of that.
she can put up with me for this long. She's
Yeah.
she's a unicorn.
Down there in your basement.
Mhm.
Down there in your basement.
Not a dungeon. Anyway,
Not a dungeon. Talking comic books. Talking comic books. Making comic books.
there we are.
Writing.
Yeah, right
those
now
comic books.
I'm writing the Atlantean 5 script, going through and rearranging everything. Thought I had it all down. Had a couple months to prep for it. Russ isn't real happy, I'm sure, but he's got a few opening pages to work with, and I'll keep him busy. But man, I'm sitting here reweaving the tapestry, shall we say, literally, on the book. Real happy with the way it's turning out, though.
You're a very skilled writer, so I think you can do it just fine.
So well, there was a little bit of imposter syndrome I had to get past because I'm currently writing the Atlantean. If anybody doesn't know, it's the adventures of Kull and King Kull and Brule, based off of the Shadow Kingdom. That is a
looks good
short story by Robert E. Howard. We do full size books now. We just closed the account or the campaign on the 4th title, and I'm in the middle of producing the 5th. The 4th one is, I think the print file on that's ready either today or tomorrow, as soon as we hear back from Russ. It goes to press. So
it's awesome. I'm still working on doing like those little digests through Amazon, print on demand, like the Kindle book.
Yeah.
They have a different standard for what bleed is.
Such a nice format. Just don't bleed on a digest.
Well, I have pages that bleed.
They'll take it. Yeah.
But we have to go back and forth and back and forth. And
you having to squash and stretch your pages?
Yeah, it's
that's not good.
Something. Yeah. So I'm trying to fix the formatting. I got a few pages to fix. I'm almost there.
Good.
We're almost there.
Good.
It's just been a busy week last week, being sick and not being able to get much done, and now this week trying to catch up. You know how it goes.
Yeah, I just finished a huge sign order, vinyl. I cut vinyl for 1-2 color signs. And I just cut a big one, and then got a big short order on top of that. So another.
Good morning to the chat out there. We've got
hey,
a few people in the chat. Welcome. It's good to see you this morning. Welcome to the old nerd bacon. Jump right on into the frying pan. Well, you know what, brother? We got some news today, and then we'll talk about some comic shops.
Should be. It's been 2 weeks. That. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. We got some news today.
We're going to talk about Jerry and Len.
Yeah.
Jerry Conway. Yeah.
Jerry Conway passed away.
Yep.
Writer of the first Marvel DC superhero crossover, co-creator of The Punisher, co-writer of Fire and Ice. I have that book. I love that book. Jerry Conway, a writer so prolific that he couldn't be contained by a single publisher or medium, has died at the age of 73. Still fairly young, friend.
Long career. Yep.
Yep.
Well, you get around 73, it's definitely young.
Yeah.
Closer you approach it,
I have a friend who just turned 80.
Yeah, there you go.
So during his long career, he contributed to many of the comics canons that still stand today. Born in Brooklyn on September 10th of 1952. Conway, you know what, September 10th, that's my son's birthday. Conway was a comics fan from an early age, and his first published comic works was a letter in Fantastic Four number 50, which appeared when he was 13 years old.
Yeah.
His first professional comics work came just 3 years,
3 years
later.
Yeah.
16 years old. In 1969.
Shooter was 13 when he started writing Legion of Superheroes.
I know these guys, right? These guys.
Yeah.
They got it. With 3 stories, 1 text, and 2 comics, in DC Comics' House of Secrets, number 81. For several years, he wrote horror and Western stories for Marvel Comics and DC's anthologies. Then broke into superheroes in 1971 with Daredevil number 72. While still scripting horror stories, he soon added Captain America, Submariner, and Thor to his repertoire. And in August of 1972, he succeeded Stan Lee as the writer of Amazing Spider-Man. Conway was 19 at the time. At 20, he wrote the Death of Gwen Stacy story in ASM number 121.
Yep.
And when he was 21, he co-created The Punisher, who was originally a Spider-Man villain, with artist John Romita Sr. and Russ Andrews.
Yeah.
For over 40 years, Conway went back and forth between Marvel and DC. He wrote Amazing Spider-Man for 3 years, from 1972 to 1975. Fantastic Four from 73 to 74. And at DC, he had an 8-year stint on Legion of Superheroes.
Yeah.
As well as runs on Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman. In addition to co-creating The Punisher, he had a hand in the creation of Peter Parker's clone, Ben Reilly. Again, with Andrew.
Take responsibility for that, baby. Yeah.
Take it. You own that one. Own that.
You own that.
The original Miss Marvel, Power Girl, Firestorm, and Killer Croc, among others. With Roy Thomas, he co-wrote the 1976 crossover Superman versus The Amazing Spider-Man number 1, the first modern superhero Marvel DC crossover. And they were slated to return with the JLA Avengers crossover in 1979, and that series was canceled due to editorial disputes and revived in 2002 with Kurt Busiek as the writer.
Yeah.
Conway also collaborated with Thomas on Captain Carrot and his Amazing Zoo Crew in the early 1980s.
Very underrated book.
At the dawn of the video game era, he and Thomas wrote 2 mini-comic series that were published by DC and included with the Atari 2600 games.
There you are.
Atari Force and Sword Quest. His last work included The Last Days of Animal Man.
His later
for
work.
DC.
Later work. Yeah. And a run on
and
Carnage.
a run on Carnage, as well as Amazing Spider-Man, Renew Your Vows, number 1 through 9. He also did a bit of newspaper work, scripting the Star Trek Syndicate comic strip for most of 1983. Conway was briefly editor-in-chief at Marvel, following Marv Wolfman's exit in '76, and shortly thereafter being replaced by Archie Goodwin.
Yeah, they were juggling editors in chiefs there for a while, handing it off like a hot potato until
like musical chairs, wasn't it?
Yep.
In addition to his comics works, Conway was a screenwriter for television and movies. His TV credits include G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero, My Little Pony, The Father Dowling Mysteries, Matlock, I love that show, Diagnosis Murder, another good one, Law and Order, and Law and Order Criminal Intent. Ooh, Criminal Intent, one of my favorites.
I thought that was him, and then I read somewhere that it wasn't him, and it's interesting to see here that it was him. Yeah, because you see that Gary Conway when you're watching Law and Order, and the written by all the time.
2 episodes of Batman, the animated series. Conway had worked with Thomas on the Conan the Barbarian comics, and together they co-wrote the script of Fire and Ice, the 1983 film created by Ralph Bakshi and Frank Frazetta.
Yeah.
And the 1984 film Conan the Destroyer. He wrote 2 sci-fi novels, The Midnight Dancers and Mind Ship.
Yep.
Conway will be inducted into the Eisner Award Hall of Fame later this year. He was one of 18 comics Notables to be chosen by the judges for automatic induction. Rest in peace, my friend.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you for all of the amazing work that you have created. Many of these books shaped my childhood reading and helped me fall in love with comic books the way that I have today. Here's some exciting news. A webtoon wins a Pulitzer
Huh.
for illustrated reporting and commentary. Trapped, subtitled Arrested by Phone, a True Story, a webtoon published by Bloomberg, has been awarded the Pulitzer Prize for illustrated reporting and commentary. The webtoon by Anand R.K. and reported by Suparna Sharma and Natalie Obiko Pearson tells the story of a neurologist kept in her home for 8 days by a digital scam that has affected hundreds of thousands in India. No plans for print release have been reported to date. The illustrated reporting and commentary category was added to the Pulitzer Prizes with the 2022 awards, replacing the editorial cartooning category, which had been in place for over 100 years since 1921.
I think they wanted to get rid of that word cartooning
because
there's a bias.
Almost demeans what we do.
Yeah, there's a demeaning bias around that.
I joke with people that say I draw cartoons all day, but you know what? There's more to what we do.
Yeah.
The 2022 winner in the category I Escaped a Chinese Internment Camp, the story of Anthony Del Cole, with art by Famida Azam and a Uyghur woman imprisoned in China. Originally published by Business Insider, was released in print by Lev Gleason in 2024. Other winners in the category, since it was broadened beyond editorial cartoonist, have included what looks like another webtoons by a prisoner in Rikers for the New Yorker, an editorial cartoonist and illustrated reporting. Expanding the awards to include online comics, at least some of which make it to print, is a positive step by the venerable organization that administers the awards and gives visibility to the format and to the importance of nonfiction graphic storytelling.
There you go.
Amen to that.
It's a shock. But it does spring off of their editorial cartoon award. So there's a lot more respect for editorial cartoonists than there are for comic book artists.
Right.
So, yeah.
There is. Oh, boy.
Doom and gloom coming soon.
That building again. Look at it. There we go. Once again.
Get that stock picture in. Yeah.
I'll tell you what, we took almost a year off.
They just cut and paste that and stick it in there. Yeah.
We took almost a year off of doing Nerd Bacon. What, 9 months?
Yeah.
Took 9 months off of doing Nerd Bacon. And I thought, surely when I come back, surely not going to be Diamond in the News.
We don't have to cover this. We can just gloss over it lightly. They found lawyers. Oh, goody. They got funding. Oh, goody.
Yep.
More money okayed from the final settlement that the publishers will get less of.
Right. So, guess what? The consigners push back.
There you go.
Push back, baby.
Two groups of consignment vendors in the Diamond Comics distributor bankruptcy case are pushing back against the Sparkle Pop LLC, which emerged last month as a new obstacle to retrieving the nearly $50 million in consignment inventory held in the Sparkle Pop warehouse in Olive Branch.
I am never going to financially recover from this.
There are a lot of publishers out there that are desperately trying to, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
Filed projections to aspire Sparkle Pop motion that asserted that Sparkle Pop may have a warehouseman's lien against the inventory under Mississippi law because the Diamond Estate, which contracted for a Sparkle Pop store to store the inventory, has not been paying the agreed upon rent. The consignment
I
group
will pay the rent.
argues
I do the job. And then I get paid.
There you go. The consignment group argues that Sparkle Pop's claim on the inventory are not superior to the publishers, that they're not the company that owes the rent, the Diamond estate is, and that the court's order under which the estate lost the option to continue its consignment agreements, which is under appeal by the trustee, needs to be decided before Sparkle Pop's motion can be granted. The ad hoc committee of consignors, like the consignment group, argues that it's the Diamond estate that owes the rent. So taking inventory from the publishers doesn't get rent from the right entity, and that the publisher didn't contract with Sparkle Pop to store the inventory.
I didn't sign the lease, but you bought it and all of its debts.
Yep. Both objections seek to prevent the imposition of a Sparkle Pop lien against the inventory, and for the storage of inventory, and eventually for its return to the publishers.
How dare you?
What a mess.
Nobody gets out of Diamond alive.
What a freaking mess. In other news, Katakawa plans rapid expansion North American retail chain. See what the name of that store is?
Something. What is that?
Manga Spot.
Manga Spots.
There you go.
It sounds like a bad medical condition.
Anyway. It is.
Katakawa has created.
We got a cream for that.
Yeah, probably. Katakawa has created a new corporate structure to support rapid expansion of its brick and mortar retail chain. They separated themselves from their brick and mortar department, which on one hand could be taken as a bad sign. And appointed a well-known CEO with substantial retail experience to run it. The company announced the retail chain is Manga Spot, which started with one store in New York in October of 2023 and has now reached 10 stores spread across the U.S. The new structure is the creation of Katakawa Retail Ventures, LLC, spun out from Katakawa World Entertainment, which oversees Katakawa's North American operations, including Yen Press, Anime News Network, and M12 Media, LLC. The CEO of the new company is Kurt Hassler, who has your names. Do you?
I don't know Kurt.
Oh, I was going to say your name's your destiny. Kurt Hassler, who is also publisher at Yen Press, which he co-founded in 2006. Hassler spent 8 years early in his career as a buyer at book chain Borders Group before they went bankrupt, where he championed the expansion of their manga section to high impact levels. The high enough impact to cause the store closures. Manga Spot, allegedly, maybe, I don't know. I don't know. Manga Spot carries manga,
really,
and anime related merch, and offers store exclusive merchandise, autograph sessions, and events linked to anime.
That is not a joke. That is a natural fact.
It is a natural.
They sell manga.
Katakawa has retail experience in Japan, where its ArcLight, a subsidiary, operates the Hobby Station tabletop game stores. For more great comic book week features, blah, blah.
Click over there for that. Do that.
It is what it is. Good luck to Katakawa.
Yeah.
The Comic Vault
Store
Week.
A retailer sting nabs comic thieves. Comicopolis is doing better. And retailers discuss free comic book day plans.
Oh, free comic book day was Saturday, wasn't it?
Yeah, we missed it.
After burglars broke into Houston's Texas Time Warp Collectibles and made off with a stash of comics, co-creator Kevin McLaughlin acted quickly. He put the news out on social media. And sure enough, when Salman Jasmani, owner of the Comic Vault in nearby Cyprus, got a call offering a suspiciously familiar list of comics, he set up a little sting. After asking for photos of the comics being offered and noting that the serial numbers on the slabbed items were the same as those in McLaughlin's photos. Just Monty told KHOU he offered to buy the items. When the sellers came in, he called the police, who arrested 3 people and charged 2 with felony theft. McLaughlin got most, if not all, of his comics back, and he was more impressed with his colleagues. But he was more impressed with his colleagues' actions. The fact that they reached out and were willing to help us, that speaks volumes about the Houston comic book community, he said.
How can he close me up? On what ground? I'm shocked to find that gambling is going on in here. You're winning, sir. Oh, thank you very much. Everybody out at once.
Everybody out at once. 2 years ago, the Santa Cruz, California comic shop Comicopolis made the news with an appeal to the community for help after a long period of economic struggle, brought on in part by issues in the neighborhood. Just ahead of Free Comic Book Day, they checked with owner Troy Geddes, and he said the store has been doing a lot better lately, although things have been a little rockier lately. Geddes thinks customers are cutting back because of high gas prices due to the war in Iran. Free Comic Book Day has brought double and even triple sales in previous years, but he's only guardedly optimistic this year, saying, I don't expect to be super huge with the war going on and gas prices crazy.
Crazy.
They're trying to fix those as fast as they can. So what's everyone doing for Free Comic Book Day? Do we want to continue reading this?
This guy's talking about ICE agents.
Okay, when Nick Glindmeyer, owner of Elseworlds Comics, saw 2 masked ICE agents detain a man on the street near his store, he was shaken, but decided to take action. Earthworld will include a fundraiser for the West Hill Refugee Welcome Center as part of the Free Comic Day activities.
I'm glad they could do that. I'm
commission bags with an image.
I'm glad that they can harbor illegal immigrants, illegal aliens, people that came into this country illegally. I'm glad that they can raise money to take care of them and not, I don't know, like actual homeless people that really need help.
Try to solve real problems. Anyway.
And we wonder why we struggle.
Yeah, well, there's commissioned tote bags with an image of the new star Brody King, image of AEW star Brody King wearing an Abolish ICE t-shirt, which they will sell for $20 each. And they will also hold a silent auction of slabbed comics and original artwork, with all proceeds to benefit the Refugee Center. Earthworld has been in business for over 4 decades because this community has looked out for us, said Glindmeyer. Glindmeyer. It's a core tenet that our community has, that our father JC instilled in us. Return that favor, especially to our marginalized neighbors. When we see people in our immediate circle being targeted, we don't just stand by. We use the platform we have and the incredible talent of the comics community to help organizations like the West Hill Refugee Welcome Center continue their vital work. I'm not familiar with the West Hill Refugee Center, but I hope they do good work.
Well,
and they're not intentionally, going against any laws or anything.
ICE is a law enforcement agency.
They must have a hard time finding new refugees, though, unless they just walk in, since the borders have been closed so tightly.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
The people that are coming in are probably...
they're probably looking for something to do.
Like, there's a difference between a refugee and an illegal alien. Like, we actually have refugee status in this country.
Yeah,
and
we do.
It's funny because we don't, people want to conflate the two, and they're not the same thing.
No.
And there are people that are here with refugee status,
and
they're fine.
Mm-hmm.
They're not going anywhere.
Yes.
But there are people that walked across.
This entire nation was built on immigrants.
Yeah. Immigrants get things done, man.
And the subjugation of the indigenous. But anyway.
Yeah, immigrants get things done.
Bad Cave to publish graphic bio of comics pioneer Ruth Roche.
Roche.
Golden Age writer
and
and business partner of Jerry Iger of Eisner Iger Studios, right? Mad Cave Studios will publish Ruth Roche, Phantom Hand of Comics, a graphic biography of Ruth Roche, comic writer and editor and the business partner of Jerry Iger. Roche was active as a writer and editor during the Golden Age up until the anti-comics crusade by Frederick Wertham decimated the business. She joined what
Screw
was
that guy.
then, it's just another, attention seeker.
Yeah.
She with wrong information, by the way.
Yeah.
Very much like climate science. Anyway,
much.
crusade of Wortham. She joined with then SM Iger Studio in 1940, shortly after the departure of Will Eisner, and after she became Iger's business partner. In 1945, the company was renamed Roche Iger Studio. Despite that, her career has not been well documented. As a lot of people a lot of creators in the Golden Age have run through the same problem. Mad Cave describes this graphic novel as a biography with historical reconstruction. The book will be released on October 13th, 2026 as a paperback with an MS manufacturer's suggested retail price of $19.99 and a hardcover with a retail price of $30, $29.99. As a lover of both comics and history, I made it a point years ago to explore the golden age of comics. Carrillo said in a statement accompanying the announcement, one name that I would see pop up over and over again with Ruth Roche. And when I would try to look more into her, there was very little information available, despite her being a major player for most of that era. Years of looking into her revealed one known photo and a handful of people acknowledging her work. It really frustrated me, which motivated me to dive deep into this research and write the most comprehensive story that could be told about Ruth at this point. I hope people who read this come away having a deeper understanding of comics, of Ruth, how women have played a pivotal role in comics, and the very early days of the medium as we know it. Unfortunately, now the more things change in comics, the more things that, well, anyway, unfortunately, now the more things change in comics, the more they stay the same. I just want to say that the Golden Age, nobody got credit. Nobody was credited. You very rarely saw anybody's signature on any artwork whatsoever. And you had to know these people by their individual work, or if you worked in the background like Ruth Roche did, you had to be in the business.
You had to self-promote back then, baby.
Yeah.
What a story, Mark.
Ruth's story feels both inspiring and sobering to me, added Hetrick. As a woman working in comics today, I'm acutely aware of how many women helped shape this industry, only to have their names fade into the conversation over time. Ruth's work is a reminder that the history of comics is far broader and richer than we often acknowledge. I hope readers come away not only appreciating her contributions, but also feeling a renewed curiosity about the creators whose work has been overlooked.
I'm concerned.
Go ahead.
So there's not a lot of information. I'm concerned that she has presuppositions about the industry based on her views, and that she's going to impart a lot of that into Ruth's story that may not have even been there.
Everybody's tome of history all hinges upon their point of view. Right. And I have a much different point of view than what this author does. Yes, these people should definitely be noted. The book is a great book, and it'll be a nice contribution to comics history, especially if it's well researched. But the thing that you have to keep in mind is comics back in the 30s, 40s, 50s, even 60s were looked at as substandard literature, as trash, below the pulp magazines. So the writers, the creators, the artists were very disrespected, never given a chance or an opportunity to shine, very rarely. It's really Stan Lee that became the the focal spotlight in the late 60s that started driving people's attention to the thought that comics aren't kiddie literature as much as they are pop art. And that's one thing that you can really credit Stan for. But in the meantime, the people that worked in comics were the people that could not find employment elsewhere. If you couldn't get a job in advertising, if you couldn't get a job in art production, if you couldn't get a job at your local newspaper doing editorial cartoons, if you couldn't get a job doing a comic strip for the newspapers, which those guys were superstars, the people that did the comic strips were put up on a really high pedestal and were big name people. Charles Schultz is probably Bill Waterston's probably the last really big example of that. But the business, and you see a lot of prejudiced idiots out there that go, oh, it's all run by the Jews or whatever. They don't realize that that's the only job that they could. Most of the time, that's the only job.
It was not a career.
That's the only career they could find.
Were going for.
Yep, and you had to be
not like now.
And you had to be gifted to be in the business because there were a lot of people. There was a lot of money that was being thrown around, even though comics were only a dime on the stands. Now, a lot of the executives up there knew the value of what they were doing. They were keeping that from the lower talent and paying them next to nothing per page for their work and taking all their rights away as far as rights to the characters. And that's nobody thought about merchandising anything until probably the 40s and 50s when they started doing stuff with Superman and Captain Marvel.
So comics was
to have somebody like Ruth Roche, which I'm sorry if I'm killing her name, up there in the business. It's a very noteworthy career to detail. But you just have to keep in mind, there are a lot of women, there were a lot of minorities that were working in comics at the time because that's all they could do. That's all that they were. That's all that the business would allow them to do.
Yeah. Comics to artist is like the fast food to a chef or the sweatshop.
The perception.
Yeah, that's what that was.
Yeah. That's why when you look at some of the golden and early Silver Age stuff, some of it's just absolute trash. Because there was a bit of nepotism that was traveling at the time, and a lot of the writing is substandard and all of that. But you do have your talent that was in there, your people that became skilled, and of course your workhorses that were there all the time.
Yeah.
That were just constantly delivering, like your Kirbys and your Ditkos. And
they're
they
loved doing it.
Boom, 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 always hitting. Yeah.
And they knew the more they drew, the more money they could make.
Exactly right.
Because there was always more money to be had there. It was, it was a good way to make a living to do it, especially as it was a boom, because there was guys like Stan Lee who wanted to make the art form and make the medium more recognized and respected.
Well, there's more money in it. There was more money. Plus, Stan loved the attention.
Right. You want the attention. If you get people to read them, there's going to be more money in it.
Stan made a great.
Doesn't matter what the motivation was.
Stan was a gifted carnival barker.
He was, man.
Absolutely.
He was. I mean, he got my attention.
He got all of our attention.
He got my attention.
A lot of these guys wouldn't be where they, in the notoriety that they have if they didn't allow for credits to pop up on those pages. And once they started doing it, everybody else started doing it. So it was really a precedent. But before that, you were seeing little signatures at the bottom of the splash pages every once in a while. EC would allow that to happen. Some of the other secondary companies. Huh?
I didn't tell you who the artist was.
No, not up front. You had to really look for it. Or a lot of these artists also had their own very individual style. Like you can look at a Jack Kirby illustration. If you've been in the business long enough, you're able to distinguish Kirby from Ditko from Andrew real easy, just by a glance.
But a lot of them went right under also false names.
That too, yeah.
But
like, Stan Lee. Stan Lee was like that. He was ashamed of his, he wouldn't use his real name in comics. He was saving it for novels, and he never got around to writing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Tokyo Pop launches kids imprint. First
comes,
graphic
baby.
novels announced. Yeah, here they come.
Here they come, baby.
In a move that furthers its expansion into new categories beyond its manga roots, Tokyo Pop has announced the launch of a new kids' book imprint with 7 initial acquisitions. Tokyo Pop Kids will publish manga, graphic novels, picture books, chapter books, middle grade novels, and Spanish language titles, all targeting children up to 12 years old. The new imprint will focus on celebrating cultural diversity with global stories and inclusive characters, and promoting literacy and age-appropriate narratives through engaging visual formats, the announcement said. That's kind of a mouthful. Tokyo Pop COO and publisher Mark Vesnick described the plan. Tokyo Pop has been bringing manga to readers of all ages for nearly 30 years, and this new imprint will deliver engaging, age-appropriate content that combines the visual appeal of manga with storytelling themes relevant to today's early and middle grade readers, he said in a statement accompanying the announcement. The 7 titles announced for fall include 2 graphic novels, plus a Spanish version of one of the titles, 2 picture books, a chapter book, and another Spanish language title. The graphic novels are As Puba, that is Pubu.
Yubu Slumbers.
As Yubu Slumbers. Exactly. By Paulina Plesios. The first volume of a 4-volume manga-style series originally published in Spanish by Planeta and available in English on Webtoon. The story revolves around a new student at a prestigious boarding school who fellow students must protect with their magical powers until they know whether she possesses magic. The 164-page digest-sized paperback for readers 10 and up will be released October 20th, in 26 at a $15.99 manufacturer's
MSRP.
Tokyo
$16. That's kind of a little more pricey there, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a little. I think it's a little high. My opinion. Tokyo Pop will also publish a Spanish edition in the U.S. Wild Paws by Victor Nordahl. The first volume of a 2-volume series from Norway takes a fox's point of view in a story in which a fox that feels different from the rest of the foxes in his clan ends up getting caught on a fox farm, finds a friend, and has to plan an escape. Winner of the Norwegian Ministry of Culture's Comic Prize, Wild Paws Volume 1, The Fox Farm, 184-page title for readers 8 through 12 will be released on November 10th at a more $14.99.
That's a gray fox.
Retail price.
It's a gray fox there. So it's the dark fox.
The dark fox.
Yeah.
Tokyo Pop's been on a tear recently, partnering with 247 comics. 24/7 comics. Okay. And expanding into the tabletop games business.
Business. And business is good.
Always business.
Business is good. Tabletops, I'll tell you, so the tabletop section back in the day was small. It's gotten a lot bigger. Like that's like the
kind of had
focus now.
Kind of had a big push during the bug. People were looking for something to do, and it's since kind of jumped over that hump and is kind of leveling off.
It is leveling off a bit. Same with manga, I think.
Yeah, well, manga is still going relatively strong.
Yeah. But it's
that's
leveled
because
off.
The kids have to have. The kids have to have something to read that they can be entertained by. And
they gotta have something, right?
It's much to the big corporate companies' detriment that they haven't been able to retain that audience. Actually, it's for the whole American comic industry's detriment that they haven't been able to retain that audience.
It feels different. A red flag. You don't know. Like it didn't used to be.
Yeah.
But it could be now. You have no idea.
Yep.
What ideology the author is going to try to push in things, and it's in an effort to try to be topical for like what's going on right now.
Plus, I got to tell you, I've become more sensitive to propaganda in media. You know, you sit there and you go, oh, there's this issue, there's this episode's lesson. Somebody stands up and does a virtue signal off of their script, and it's like, come on. You know, you just wince and you go, I just want to be entertained. You don't have to hit me over the head.
Make me laugh. Make me laugh. Make me smile.
I don't want to be reminded of my troubles when I'm looking for entertainment. I just want to be entertained. I want to lose myself. I want to go someplace I've never been before. I want to read a good, entertaining story, you know?
Yeah. We had comics for kids. They were the same comics, ones for everyone.
Well, that's what the Code Authority was supposed to beat everything down to. And that's not the way the art form was working, though, at the time, because once they established the CCA, you saw this direct pendulum swing in the underground market. That was vicious. I mean, you had some really adult material come back up there, and then you had heavy metal and up to this just great whole underground movement. You can't contain an art form by sticking a stamp on it and expecting people to only buy it. That's the same thing with video games.
Right.
You know, you can guide the parents on what they can or should or shouldn't buy for their kids, absolutely. But you're not going to. What the Comic Code Authority did was literally neuter the art form, because at the time they were very distressed because there were some very adult oriented comics that were coming out. Your EC line, the stuff we do on. We look over on my podcast, The Crime Does Not Pay title, very adult. You'll not just as violent, I would say, as what you see on True TV or any of these true crime stories today.
Yeah, really not really appropriate for.
And that took a lot of parents off kilter, you know, instead of realizing that this was before television, or just as television was coming in. You had all of these guys in the war that didn't have anything to do. They were sitting for hours in foxholes. They were reading comics.
Yeah.
They were passing comics out amongst themselves, or paperback books, or whatever they could.
And some of those underground comics,
stay awake and entertained.
You know, they would cover like.
You saw a direct backlash where they tested the mores in every direction that they possibly could. Every ethical question, I think, was made during that period.
Yeah, I mean, there was.
And some of that stuff's really wild.
It's like the comic book about that German officer who would do weird experiments on Jewish people and like make stuff out of their skin and stuff. And Ed Gein got a hold of this. And
no, wrong guy.
Yeah, Ed Gein got a hold of this. I mean, you know, so there's, you know, I got those Jack Chick books, right?
Yeah,
I wouldn't want my kid to read that. You know, there's nothing inappropriate in the art or anything like that, but I don't. That's some weird propaganda. That's some weird stuff. I don't want my kid reading that.
Well, there's some literature you don't want your kids to read until they're able to handle it. You know, it's that way with everything.
So I get it. So you need things that are going to be appropriate.
There's movies, there's TV, there any kind of media out there. If you're a parent, you're especially having a rough time now trying to find stuff, and because you can't keep an eye on them unless you've got real hard software, like Guardian software,
and you have to look at
of what they're looking at, because they're looking at everything. Yeah,
and you have to look at this stuff first. Because here's one of the problems: it's now people are packaging propaganda for kids. They're disguising it, so you think it's going to be child appropriate.
That's been going on for a while, though. I think it just came to a head about 2018 or so, where people really started noticing what was going on. And then the bug really kicked it into high gear, I think. Getting past it now, though, thank goodness. You're seeing more entertaining stuff coming out. And they're attempting to make more entertainment than propaganda. So
it is nice. And we're seeing more of that. People starting to realize that, you know, the propaganda and the trying to push the ideology, it's not selling.
No.
People are over it. They're tired of it. It's just too much.
Turn away from the badly written material. It's not that you can push your ideology. Look at what Rod Serling did during Twilight Zone. Man, he got such a liberal, and he was liberal, progressive liberal.
Oh yeah.
you go and you look at those old Twilight Zones, and they have a liberal message in them, but they're entertaining as hell.
Yeah.
You know, they're really still worth watching. A lot of great old Henry twist endings to them, and just phenomenal story show. That's how you get your point. That's art. That's how you get your point across. You know.
Yeah.
Art over propaganda.
Art over propaganda. And even then, like, you could be like, I don't agree with that or whatever, but you could still enjoy it. And, yeah.
Well, even Star Trek, the original series, got into a problem with their third season. I think that's what really caused them a lot of hard ratings, is they got really preachy in a couple of episodes. Guy with that half black, half white face, storyline, or they got too absurd, like with Spock's brain type stuff. That was
one
on
of
the
the
third
things
season. I think that really contributed to their downfall.
That was one of the things I never had to deal with when I was doing comic books, when I was a kid, going to the comic book shop, is dealing with the store owners pushing their
ideology.
Their ideology.
Yeah.
I didn't know how they voted, and I didn't know what religion they were.
Didn't matter.
I didn't know any of that stuff.
No.
They were there selling books. All they told me about was like what was good.
Yeah.
They would point me to stories and get me excited about that stuff.
Uh-huh.
All the other things, who cared? Right?
Yeah.
That wasn't their. That wasn't what they were there for.
Yep.
We were there for stories, and even, the group of weirdos that I had at my lunch table, we were just a bunch of kids that, loved comic books, and and that's how we got together, was over this medium of comic books. It wasn't anything else. And we didn't agree on much.
Yeah.
But, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
It really is a nice day. Yeah.
Daily Mail.
Yep. Pest control coming in, taking care of
There
stuff.
you are. Pest control, car warranty, fake
Yep,
insurance.
all that stuff. Well, you know what? I think it's time to call it a day today.
Before we
Get
go,
out
I
there
just
today.
want to say we also lost another great writer over the last couple of weeks, and that's Lynn Straczynski, who wrote Justice Society for a while and was editor on Troll Lords with Biederstadt and Fricke. If you don't know what Troll Lords is, it's kind of like the Three Stooges as trolls, came out in the 80s, and it was really, really a big property there for a kind of a phenomenon for a short period of time, around the same time that Turtles was overshadowing everything. And Len was meant well. He was very passionate, created Prime for Ultraverse, and did a number of other writing and editing along the way. And I'm sad to see that he's gone. Or has passed on, I should say. It's not really totally gone, because you can still pick up that great run with Mike Parovic, Justice Society books that are just
Left a legacy behind.
great stuff. Yeah.
Left a legacy of work behind for everyone to read. That's good stuff. And well, today is the National Day of Prayer, and I'll be going out today at noon at the courthouse. We'll have a group of people out there praying and praying for our country, praying for our communities, praying for our friends and family.
There you go.
So if you are so inclined today, remember to bow your head and pray. Pray for all of the things that you can think of, because we need to pray for all of those things. Remember, check out Randy Zimmerman's other shows. He does a few things there.
Do 2 podcasts a week. Friday morning at 5 a.m., though we're archived. We do Comics by Night, where we look at great comics. This week we're looking at Crime Does Not Pay, number 67. And then Sunday morning at 9 a.m., these times are Eastern Standard Times, we do Sunday Funnies. And we're currently going through Akira, and we're about in the middle of book 3. So it's part 8 on Akira. You don't have to have followed the other episodes before. You can just jump in. It's always a great, odd conversation, just like this. Probably not. We try not to be as political, and we try to be less newsworthy and more just factual about comics and what we love and what we're inspired by. That's why we do those shows, is we look at great comics that inspire us and makes us better creators. So
The Derby was last week.
Stop by when you can. There you are. Yeah. We're archived over at the Comic Book Black Belt and the Randy Zim YouTube channels and the Indie Comics Network YouTube channel. You can find us over there.
Go check him out. Guys, remember, you got to build up more than you tear down. You got to leave the wood pile higher than you found it. And you know what else you got to do, Randy? You gotta be careful out there.
Gotta be careful out there.
Let's be careful out there. Let's be careful out there. We had a 187 at the 7-Eleven on the corner of 4th and Main. 2 Caucasians of the male persuasion put a bullet through the cashier's brain. Moving on, I see a 211, half a dozen 459, 2 AEWs, a GTA, and several miscellaneous crimes. Homicide.